It's the beginning of a new year, and for many, this is the beginning of a new chapter and a new life altogether. It's that time people take a glance at their past experiences, observing mistakes made, and realizing that they still have to move on, probably by making new plans. As MBC, we look at how we have served you, our viewer, hoping our services have been wonderful, and thinking ahead of time, we know we have to serve you better.
We want to give a reason to the viewers to tune in or to watch TV, MBC TV. And in that, we're trying to make sure that we cater for every sector of society. We're looking at the youth. We'll be bringing in new and vibrant programs for the youth. We're looking at the middle-aged people. What is it that they like? We're also looking at the minorities in this country. By that, we mean that people with disabilities. We're looking at people who are of different color but are in Malawi. So we're trying to cater for each and every sector of our society. And trust me, we have a lot in stock.
Observing our mission statement, which is to inform, educate, and entertain, we know we have a lot of work to do. And as our motto says, creating a world of possibilities, indeed, we are reminded of the big responsibility we have in society.
Our duty is not only to produce programs or to entertain people and inform them, but we also have a responsibility to be part of the viewers. Whom I'm calling as publics. So we actually decided to come up with that program, Reach Out and Touch, so that we create, or rather promote, the heart of giving in our community. We tell people that we're having this problem in this country, and then people come in and assist.
That program also gives people, hope. And it creates a world of possibilities for them, because probably they were in a place where they never thought that they would get out of that situation. But because of that program, they are getting out of their situations. We're seeing people's lives changed. We're seeing people's lives being touched. Just at the end of the year, we had a glamorous event, which is Our People, Our Pride. We're trying to recognize men and women out there who maybe in many cases will never even be recognized. But look at what we are doing, bringing those people to the fore, giving them a platform, encouraging them, and I'm sure that will bring in an encouraging spirit, a spirit of hard work in Malawians, because they realize that, you know what, I may be an unsung, I may be just a normal person, I may be like an unsung hero, but tomorrow I can be a hero.
MBC Television Services started 11 years ago as Television Malawi, TVM, with very few workers. Then, the station had very little hours of broadcasting per day, very few programs to beam, and a very small coverage. Today, MBC Television Services, which has studios in Blantyre, Mzuzu, and Lilongwe, has improved tremendously, with a very wide coverage nationwide and about 180 workers present at the station.
When I joined Malawi Television, I had a few problems. And the problems I had was firstly to understand what was going on, because there were certain things that did not make sense to me. As you know very well, in broadcasting, for you to be quite conversant with what's going on in view of what the audience there are looking forward to, it has to go through 3 phases. The first one is the content generation. You have materials, you want to do something else. How are you going to go about it? Who do you target? Who do you want to target? Television has got 5 family members. There is a father, there is a mother, then there is some elderly children, and then there is some younger ones, and then there is a family. So in whatever you're doing, these are the people, the family members that you have to engage. So the first principle was to make sure that we go back to that original principle. The second thing was that whatever we do has to make sense, content-wise as well as business-wise, meaning there has to be somebody else who has to pick the tab. Secondly, as I said, from the content generation phase, the next thing is the production. When you're doing production, this is where now the skills are involved, as far as editing is concerned, creating a picture that tells a story in manner in which the intended audience gets the information without problems or trying to have somebody else to clarify matters and the like. They should see the point in whatever is happening. Then the third phase is the transmission. This is slightly bit technical, but if you have an audience, you want to target the audience, you want them to follow whatever is happening right in their homes. Now, how do you do that? You do that through transmission. So you have to make sure that there is signal that can be accessed, and you can only do that by increasing your footprint. We've done that. When I came, we were covering almost 35% of the country. Now we're somewhere around 50, 52, 53. We're not very happy, but yeah, in the next 12 months, we wrote a program where at least we increase it to somewhere around 67 or so.
The station at Kwacha Studios in Blantyre comprises of different departments, each handling a number of specific activities, with an aim of reaching a common goal, which is to bring the best to you, our viewer. One of the most important and exciting departments at MBC Television Services is the newsroom.
Working in the newsroom is quite exciting. Exciting because we treat each other as brothers. Okay, there isn't that kind of boundary to say, okay, this one is the boss, this one is the junior and stuff. Nobody bosses around, so almost all of us are just friends, colleagues, and we mix quite well, and especially share quite a lot of jokes, and especially when we come up with funny stories. You look at the story and the way we give each other feedback. We give each other feedback on that very informal level, which is quite also exciting because we're able to discuss the same story in a much more deeper manner, looking at the slant that story should have taken. So this is one of the best places to be. Get into the newsroom, share the fun while at the same time you're working.
The process of producing the news starts from the newsroom. Reporters, news producers, news editors, and news analysts make it happen through a properly arranged routine.
First of all, we put the scripts together, like on a PowerPoint thing. So you collect about maybe 8 different stories, or maybe 9 depending on the duration. So you have like your scripts in order, you line them up properly according to which one's going to start. And then after that, you sort out the visuals. You have the stories on the tapes, and then you have to log them properly. And then you gather them onto one story. We call that the final gathering tape. And so you put them in order, which one comes first, and log them properly, because you need to leave the tape with our final control center, who will be playing it when the news is on. And then after that, then you also need to write the scrolls, the ones that come beneath the screen as the news is airing. Yeah, and then basically after that, you're ready to go.
News production might seem to be simple and exciting, but for a good production to happen, a number of collective jobs have to be performed. One such job is that of a news editor.
My job is just to make sure that the story is making sense and making sure that the story has been well edited, both in terms of the grammar and even telling the story in good pictures. So by and large, I'm over here simply making sure that what we give our viewers is purely acceptable, both in terms of the language as well as the picture.
Sometimes it can be sensitive because you want to make sure that you don't get the wrong thing out, or you want to get the right message across, so that people do not misunderstand whatever idea the story is trying to bring across. So you have to be careful about the visuals you're showing and also what your news sources are saying.
Another interesting job in the newsroom is that of a news analyst. This too is a bit tricky and challenging.
Myself as a news analyst will look at a story which a reporter has brought or a reporter has not brought, because essentially I'm a journalist, but there is a story that is unfolding in the country or elsewhere, but the story has complications in terms of comprehension. So basically, these are stories that need a lot of explanation for people to really appreciate what is it about the story. The challenge in working as an analyst is you attempt to explain issues to a larger audience. And you should bear in mind that in Malawi, for example, our audience for TVM per day, especially MBC News, is more than 5 million viewers watching it. And these viewers are coming from different backgrounds and different schools. Now, you are attempting to explain an issue to them, and you are assumed to have a better understanding of the issues. Now, the challenge is you may be explaining issues that lay in a professional domain of others. And whilst you may think that as an analyst, you are doing an explanation of the issue, the people that are professional in that particular aspect may actually be laughing at you. So the challenge is to always come up with an analysis that will command a reasonable respect within the audience. But taking into consideration that it is almost impossible to have an analysis that is unanimously being agreed upon by 4-point-something million people. There is also need for trust. Your superiors should be able to have trust in your ability to analyze issues. Because some of the issues that we analyze are very sensitive. And you may end up stepping on people's toes. So as an analyst, you should strive to sustain this trust that is there between you and your superiors. Your superiors should not be sweating when they hear that you're going on air for an analysis. They should always have this confidence that, well, we employed him as an analyst, we see how he has been performing, and we're quite confident that if he goes on air because our news is live, he's not going to give us a scandal out of his analysis.
News producers too have their own challenges, as Secret Vumwe is explaining.
News producing can be tough at times when, let's say, you haven't got enough materials for your bulletin, or else you haven't gotten the right material for your production. But otherwise, if you have all necessary materials in good time, then it can be easy.
Another crucial area at MBC Television Services is the production pool. This is where different ideas and raw material are assembled for the creation of other programs and documentaries. This process too requires planning.
The whole production process starts from the concept, which is the general idea of the program that has to be made. After the concept has been tabled and discussed at length, a script is actually developed, and this script is the plan of the program. It is actually what says how the program is going to be shot, how the program will be executed, and in the end, how the program will be edited. So the script is very important. It says it all.
To make a viewer appreciate television is one of the producer's responsibilities. It is precisely a tricky job which requires broad knowledge and understanding. In many cases, it is not very easy to come up with a brilliant idea which could result into a good production, making the whole process very difficult to handle.
Creating a program is not something easy. It's an artistic thing. You really have to be an artist to be a producer, first of all. For example, if you want to do a program in the music circles, you move in the streets, you stay in your community, in your locality, and then you look at something with that kind of interest people with a touch of music. So that is not easy.
There is a lot of fun in working behind the scenes, more especially when you're a producer or director who is directly involved in the creation of programs. I produce Touching Base, which is really, really fun. I think I love being in front of the camera. It's okay, but I enjoy being behind the camera a lot more because then you get to see things being created. It's like you're creating something. Another important job at MBC Television Services is that of a presenter. Many live productions, including live news and HE functions, require presenters. But what do these presenters do? What are they anyway?
Well, as a presenter, every morning when I walk in the office, I have to check the roster. I have to see where I'm appearing on that day or maybe 2 days before. got to check on the roster whether I'm supposed to be on continuity, either on the Good Morning Malawi show or Maswere. I can also produce, but mainly my job is to present.
You'd have to be very passionate about media, passionate about reading, because you can't be in the media really if you don't really know what's happening. You need to know what's happening around you, sometimes around you and in and around the world. So first thing is the passion, second thing is hard work, and third thing is you need to know that it's not just you. Television work is teamwork.
Looking good is one of the things every presenter must be sure of. Before going on set, the producer or director makes certain the presenter is looking presentable.
It takes quite a bit to make yourself look the way you want on TV, but I suppose in the end it's all worth it.
By the look of things, presenting seems to be great fun. But is it really that simple and exciting to be a presenter? Don't they get a little tensed up before going on set?
Tensed? I get very tensed every time I'm about to go on air.
Honestly, when you're going there, it's nerves, okay? Everyone is nervous when they're going there, especially when it's your first time and when you've also been there before. It's still that, you know, that moment where you're going there, your heart is beating.
When I first started personally, it was scary. It's not easy to sit in front of the camera and have all these cameras in front of you and people watching you. It's really, really not easy. You feel like a fish in a bowl and everybody is watching you. Even now, after being in front of the camera for a while, it's still very, very, very scary. So your heart is racing, you're sweating, you're shaking, and then when they count you down, that's the most scary part.
It's normally the countdown that really shakes me, you know. I go, okay, seconds from now, it's the whole Malawi, and it's not even that. I mean, TV, especially MBC, we're going fast, so we're on satellite now. So you're not being home, it could be people outside, you know. So there's always that fear, and then your heart beats like you've never done it before.
You have to be set, you have to be calm, and, well, usually you just pretend as if, okay, you just pretend as if you're there alone, you know? It's you and the camera, and then you just think that, okay, I'm talking to the camera.
Normally, to me, the first 2 words I say, I normally shiver, but then I always try that, okay, you know what, God, I don't want it to show. And then in the end, it gets there, but then there's always that fear that just comes in and go, okay, am I going to do it? But then you just do it in the end.
The camera section is one other important section in the technical department of MBC Television Services, without which there is no picture to beam. It has a number of cameramen who in most cases are responsible for capturing sound as well.
Always on standby in our office, batteries charged, cameras ready, tripod ready, cables ready, mic ready for the field work. If not in the studio. If in the studio, checking everything is alright, sound, picture, all is well, and lighting.
Most of the programs that you do see on air here on MBC TV, they are not only recorded in the studios, we also do go outside recording different programs. We do a lot of electronic news gathering, that's the ENG and the EFP electronic field productions. In the news gathering, we do go out. Most of the times we are always out, you know, gathering materials for news. You know, there are so many things happening that Malawi needs to know.
At MBC Television Services, the camera section is probably the busiest place to work in. This is because it's involved in almost every program that has to be made, whether live or pre-recorded, happening in the field or in the studio.
We do work, you know, under pressure. It's like you want to speed up. It's like time is not on your side. You know, here at MBC TV, there are just few of us as cameramen, and you know, against very big numbers of producers and reporters.
Working as a cameraman is quite challenging. The last thing a cameraman wants to do is to give the producer or director a bad picture. For the cameraman to be able to give good results, he has to work very closely with other technicians like gaffers, lighting operators, and so on, depending on the type of program at hand.
One thing we keep in mind is that when it comes to production, it's all about teamwork. So most of the time you have to keep in mind of these other people that will get involved with the pictures you've gathered in the field. you just don't think of yourself, but you also have to consider if what you're getting there is what will be used, is what the editor will look for.
One other interesting but busy section in the technical department is the editing room. This is where all pre-recorded programs are prepared before going on air.
After the shoot, you know, a post-production script is developed. It actually deals with the footage that has been collected. So when the post-production script has been made, it goes to the editor, and then the editor's duty is to edit according to that script.
Every day when I come here, I'm here busy, sometimes creating graphics, maybe billboards for programs. Sometimes we are doing adverts, like in-house adverts. One thing that I have to be very clear about is that I love my job. You know what, I've always loved working with images and making things beautiful. It's one of the things that I enjoy doing.
The editing section at MBC Television Services Kwacha Studios has about 9 people, each working as a video editor, graphics editor, CG operator, and sometimes as camera person. It is a job that requires determination, great understanding, and can be frustrating at times.
At editing, a lot happens. You know, this editor is a person with the magic hands when it comes to pictures, to polishing out pictures. That's when he does with add the effects to make it look nice.
As an editor, you become second director because you are involved in the decision making. You are actually the final decision maker. Okay, what shots am I going to use? Fine, as this one is speaking, which shot am I going to use? You know, you're selecting certain shots, certain clips, adding cutaways to the program, and then all that stuff might not be documented, might not be in the script, but then you as an editor decide which one to put at whatever particular point. So that makes you second director, and that's the most exciting part I like, you know, in editing.
Editors have challenges too. Key among them is the fact that it is one of the smallest but crucial sections at MBC Television Services.
We have problems, and the biggest of them being the number of producers against that of editors. At this institution, we have a greater number of producers who are more creative. They're coming up with programs almost every day, and then one producer could have 2-3 programs, and then that means a lot of work and no rest for the editors. And in that way, there's no capacity for you to think about what you want to edit.
The Final Control Center, FCC, is where all programs, live or pre-recorded, are finally aired. It is a very sensitive area which requires great accuracy and focus so as to avoid blunders going on air, especially during live programming. The signal from the FCC is transmitted through our satellite equipment, which is kept cool in a well-conditioned room for perfect performance.
And the editors bring us the tape. We've got players at the FCC. The signal is played out from the players, goes to the data switcher, and is sent to the uplink where we've got our satellite transmitter. From the uplink, that signal is beamed up to the transponders, and the transponder reflects back for our viewers who are on satellite. But for those who've got aerials, or what we call terrestrial transmission, what we do, we've got satellite receivers at our different transmitting stations. We get that signal, decode it, and put it into our terrestrial transmitters. From then the viewer can receive using an aerial.
In the television industry, the number of people collectively working behind the scenes is amazingly big. Sometimes, where more people are working together, it is very easy to step on each other's toes. But how does MBC Television Services staff manage to do their day-to-day jobs successfully?
In broadcasting, there are 3 C's. There's communication, cooperation, and contact. There's no way one person is going to do it all. no one person is an island and they can't say, I can't do it alone. They have to communicate, cooperate with others, and contact with others. So yes, they may come in with issues every day. I mean, we are human beings. We may have our problems, but what we encourage is leave your problems on the door, come in here, and let's work as a team.
If you're also open to criticism and take it positively, you'll find out that you can work properly. Apparently, I haven't faced any problems with anybody. I think because I have a good sense of humor. I don't get angry easily. So with that, if you have that, you find out that you can work properly with people.
I'm one person who loves making friends. Every day I see it as a privilege from God to meet different faces every day. So I'd like to make friends. I love to laugh. I don't know whether that's a good thing or not, but I really love laughing. I seem to find every little thing funny, except when it's serious.
Yes, it's true. We have personalities clashing, but at the end of the day, we have to make sure that those clashing of personalities are put to better use. There will always be problems, but at the end of the day, we are working for the better good.
With the passing of time, MBC Television Services keeps growing from strength to strength. As the new year begins, plans are many to continuously improve the delivery of our services.
Wait and see. If there are viewers there and listeners there who want to see what MBC is going to do, let them continue watching MBC and TV. They'll see it constantly changing for the better.
We are currently working on our programming. As you have seen, that we have changed a lot in the content, both in the content and the quality of programming. It's an initiative to ensure that our viewers really get the best from us. And in fact, if you have to sell, definitely you need to present a product that appeals to the market.
We are promising our viewers that you will see a new face, a new MBC face. We have plans that we are going to change the airwaves of our television station.
We have a lot in stock. We want to bring in new health programs, education programs, and also entertainment overall, because apart from just educating and entertaining, we're also supposed to be informing our viewers. So we'll be bringing in quite a lot. Just watch this space.
Hard work is what MBC Television Services believes in, for it is what makes the station move forward. And indeed, the coming of the merger between what used to be known as Television Malawi and MBC Radio promises more hard work.
I think there'll be a lot of input from people who've come from the radio side and from the TV side. So I think there'll be a lot of efficiency and, of course, creativity as well. You know, there's lots of input from people from both sides.
You know, there is a word we use in management. We call it synergy, where 1 + 1 really has to mean something else other than 1, meaning 2, 3, or 4 or so. Yeah, so coordinated effort definitely yields a greater or a better result. So having radio and TV coming together definitely builds on that kind of relationship, builds on that kind of synergy, where really combined it makes it the biggest media institution around.
Despite all the challenges faced, MBC Television Services welcomes you to a wonderful and exciting 2011 programming. We wish you a prosperous Happy New Year and hope you will stay with us all the way to the end of the year. Please don't change that dial.